Hey guys, today I will be discussing why I don't think just the focus on equality of opportunity is enough, and why I think we should also be focusing on equality of outcome. Equality of opportunity is a concept which is very popular nowadays, both for people on the right wing and people on the left wing. The idea that as long as we all have the same opportunities to climb the socio-economic ladder, the same access to schools, healthcare, and so on, then we have created the perfect society where everyone's reward is a fair reflection of their choices. One thing is the fact that without equalizing outcome to a high extent, then the idea of equal opportunity is simply an inaccessible pipe dream. Think about it this way: in many first world countries, the access to all levels of schools is completely equal for all. The ability to get a good education and from there move up from the socio-economic class they were born into. But even in these societies, which have spent so much effort and money on trying to improve social mobility, the fact is still that the vast majority of people never actually get to utilize this social mobility. One thing is the fact that we all have been given the same access to public institutions, but the just as important fact is that kids have an entire life outside of the public schools and institutions, which can never provide equal opportunities if their parents' outcomes have not been balanced. A kid may very well be going to school, but if it is without a proper lunch, then their focus and ability to get good grades will be largely diminished. Wealthier parents will have much better resources and time to nurture and help their kids with their homework and help them overcome any hurdles that may be presenting them. A kid coming from wealthy parents will never have to worry about the clothes they're wearing, won't have to worry about if there's going to be food on the table tonight, whereas a kid in poverty will, and they will more often fall sick and simply won't have the same access to help for studies within their home. We also see in poor neighborhoods that environmental factors play a huge role in limiting these children's ability to ever stand a chance at competing with wealthier kids. Lead and asbestos poisoning is much more common in poor neighborhoods. Crime is more common. Light and noise pollution is much more significant as well. All things considered, poor kids are being severely handicapped by their environment, greatly reducing any real chance of utilizing any form of social mobility. One important example coming from South Africa was when the black people were finally liberated from the apartheid. Was it was not simply not good enough to just open up the white only universities for the black people and give them access. It wasn't worth anything if the black people still had to go through the same public, poorly funded schools. They still had to do the primary education, going through these poorly funded schools, and still have to live in environments suffering from many of the factors which I mentioned above. Even just the lack of proper air conditioning and food will already have huge consequences on the students' ability to get the most out of their schools and qualify for universities. If the economic outcomes for black people in South Africa are not equalized in any meaningful way, then the idea of everyone having an equal opportunity simply holds no water. If outcomes aren't balanced in a meaningful way, then we cannot expect that people have the same ability or resources to take advantage of similar opportunities. Just because two people were both racing on a 100-meter track, it still wouldn't be fair if one person had to run with sandbags on their legs. And even if we could equalize the outcome, would that actually mean we had an equal opportunities? Let's think about it, what it would mean to equalize everyone's opportunity. To truly make it so every kid had the exact same opportunity to succeed equally at everything, wouldn't this inevitably mean that there would be have to be strict controls on how everyone had to raise their kids, what food they had to serve them, and what hobbies they could enlist them in? Because let's be honest, the kid whose mom is teaching them mathematics and enlisting them in spelling bees is probably better set for financial success than the kid whose dad is teaching him how to draw and play the trumpet. If we insisted on complete equality of opportunity, the idea of freedom as a given human right would absolutely vanish. But this obvious lack of actual equality of opportunity is just the beginning of why this notion is so wrong, according to me. Because even if we had the ability to equate everyone's opportunity, would that make for a good society? A 2005 paper by Harvard sociologist Christopher Jenks and Laura Tack showed that about two-fifths of the correlation between parents and children's earnings can be attributed to genetic factors. Now, whether the parts of the genetic factors play a slightly larger or smaller role is debated, but also irrelevant. The fact of the matter is just that our genetic factors are largely random and certainly not something that we can take credit for. But still, they play a significant role in our ability to climb the socioeconomic ladder and our ability to become successful. But I ask, why should it be that society should punish less intelligent people to a state of economic insecurity and a state of poor work conditions and less access to enriching life experiences? Even with perfect equality of opportunity, there would still be an upper class and an underclass of people who never had any actual chance of reaching the upper class, an underclass whose life were destined to be much worse off from the moment that they were born, an upper class who could live in large houses or mansions, take long vacations, eat stuffing healthy meals every night, having more money than they actually knew how to spend, all at the same time there being an underclass consisting of many more people who are skipping vacation days to make ends meet, living off of ultra processed foods as it's all that they can afford, living in poorly insulated small apartments. Is this actually fair? I don't think so. And as Thomas Nagel said, when racial and sexual injustice have been reduced, we shall still be left with the great injustice of the smart and the dumb, who are so differently rewarded for comparable effort. The less intellectually gifted people are more than likely working harder jobs, longer hours, with less benefits, and a much lower wage. But because any opportunity to climb out of their life in the underclass was never actually within any realistic reach, they are punished with a harder and much less satisfying life. And as philosopher John Rawls argues, if people knew in advance that economic resources were going to be distributed randomly, they would demand a fairly equal distribution. Economic resources are basically a lottery, with a genetic and environmental factors deciding for us. So why shouldn't it be distributed almost equally? I suppose the main point I'm trying to articulate is that within the society that we have created today, where equality of outcome is so incredibly out of balance, then any real talk of equal opportunity is a complete hearsay. And even if we were to get a balance for this equality of outcome, completely equating opportunity for everyone is both an impossibility and probably a great injustice, as it would be a huge infringement on many people's freedom, especially parents, and it would create a society where the fun may very well be forgotten, as all the focus would have to be on efficiency. And lastly, which is to me the most important point, any sort of equalizing of opportunity is still going to push innumerable amounts of people into a life of unfair treatment, back-breaking work, and low wages, simply because these people never had any real chance at actually grasping these opportunities. And I ask, again, why it should be that people who were born less lucky in the genetic lottery should be subjected to a life which is objectively much worse than people who won the genetic lottery. I don't think fighting for a society with more equal opportunities is a bad thing, but I don't think that it should be our top priority. We should be fighting for a world where we were all guaranteed some level of life satisfaction, where it would be impossible for some people working at offices or corporate jobs to earn all the way between 5 and 200 times more than people working within construction or retail. I am not saying that all work should be given the exact same pay either. But it is vital that we create a balance where it is not the case that a large amount of people have more money than they could ever know how to use, while some people don't even have enough money to put food on the table or pay for their life saving medicine. That is all for today. Thank you for listening.